Show.
Sit in the hot seat and keep it real with Alyssa Love.
Whether you're talking about your love life, past and current friendships, fashion trends, juicy stories, hot topics, food, entertainment, the list is endless.
But what it comes down to,
can you keep it real with Alyssa Love?
Thursday nights starting at 8:05 p.m. on KXVS 92.1 FM, the voice of Stockton.
Attention, Stockton. Are you experiencing a transition in business, relationships, health, or your life purpose? I'm Darius Oliver, and I help people to look within and find clarity and direction in their constantly changing lives. Tune in and listen with me as I go deep into your patterns and personal cycles through divine numerology. Any life transition you're experiencing can be illuminated by an in-depth analysis of your chart. For the first time in Stockton, you now have access to a professional numerologist here to help you light your own way. I'm in the booth to help you find your own truth. Tune in to Divine Numerology every Friday at 3 p.m. on The Voice of Stockton.
KXVS on 92.1. Coming soon.
Hello there, everyone. Stockton, welcome to the Voice of Stockton, KXVS. Today I have a good guest, Debbie Lynn, and my co-host Connie O'Day. We'll be talking. So welcome to the show. Here we go, Connie.
Oh, you're turning it over to me.
That's
okay.
right.
Our guest is Debbie Link. Okay, and she is from the Stockton and San Joaquin United Cerebral Palsy organization here in Stockton, California. And I want to welcome you, Debbie, to our show today.
Thank you.
And I know that you had said that you have graduated from Boston University.
That's correct.
And what did you graduate with? What kind of degree?
My degree's in occupational therapy.
In occupational therapy. Fantastic. How long have you been in that career?
A long time, close to 40 years.
Wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful.
Mhm.
And can you please tell us about the work that you are doing at UCP? What is your responsibilities at United Cerebral Palsy?
My responsibilities there, as I'm the director of the Clinical and Family Services, and that department has some other departments in it. We have one where we work with the children birth to 3 through the regional center. We have a program with First 5 San Joaquin, and we work with the children birth through 5. And then we see children in schools. We provide occupational therapy, once in a while speech therapy. And we also do equipment assessments at Valley Mountain Regional Center, the adaptive equipment, wheelchairs, bath chairs, walkers.
Now,
too
can
fast.
you...
Bath, walking,
And walkers.
and a walker. Okay.
Gotta slow down a little.
I'm sorry.
Valley Mountain Regional Center. Now, I'm sure a lot of you out there don't know what Valley Mountain Regional Center is, and it's very important for the services for people with disabilities. And can you please tell us what Valley Mountain Regional Center is?
I can tell you to the best of my knowledge. It won't be the official one, but Valley Mountain Regional Center is the agency that provides services to people with developmental disabilities. So they have to have a qualifying diagnosis. Birth to 3, there's different diagnoses from once they turn 3. It's a different diagnosis. It's not different diagnoses, but they have to have an ongoing disability.
And they have case managers that each client is managed by a case manager who
Yes.
follows their progression and what their needs are.
And provides support to
Yes.
them. Yeah, they call them service coordinators to coordinate the services that someone may need.
Very good. And do they work with you in the schools with the students?
No, in the schools we contract directly with the school districts.
Okay. So when you're contracting directly with the school district, what does that actually mean? What are you actually doing?
We're providing occupational therapy services to the children who need it within the schools that have been identified by the school as needing it.
Now, are these children, are they in special ed classes?
The majority of them are, yes. They have an IEP, an individual education program.
I've done those myself many times.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it just depends if they have one of those and occupational therapy's on it. We're one of the people who provide services to them.
Now, an IEP is very important to a student's progress in school. Can you explain to our audience what an IEP is?
It stands for the Individual Education Plan, and so it's the plan they make up with the student to help them progress and provide what they need to progress the best that they can.
Very good.
And we also work with the younger children. They have what's called an IFSP, which is Individual Family Service Plan, because the family is involved in that plan.
Now, what age group is this?
Birth to 3.
Birth to 3. Okay. Now, with the children that young, does the United Cerebral Palsy case managers, am I using the right terminology, case manager, or who's in charge of each child?
Valley Mountain Regional Center is the coordinating agency.
Okay.
And when we do we do the assessment with them, with their staff, and whatever we decide they need, then those service providers will go in. But Valley Mountain Regional Center is still the coordinating agency.
So, from United Cerebral Palsy, the coordinator will go to the home. Is that right?
The personnel providing services will go to the home.
Okay.
Is that clear? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there's all different kinds of services and at different ages.
The services that we provide for the little ones, teachers, we have occupational therapists, physical therapists, and speech therapists.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's a combination of those services depending on what the child's need is that goes in.
Fantastic. Now, what about the clients that are in daycares? Do you have daycares?
We can provide the service in the daycare because the requirement is that you provide the service in the child's natural environment. So we always want the parents to be involved because they're the parent, and we always keep in touch with them, but we do provide services in the daycare because if that's where the child is most of the time during the day.
And that's the birth to 3-year-old you're talking about.
Correct.
Now, what
Okay, before we go there, to those who don't know, what do you mean by natural environment? When they're studying at the home, it's natural environment right there. But when they're outside the setting, does the parent have to go with them to the organization itself?
Does the parent have to be in the daycare
when
we go?
That's what I meant.
Not if the parents have given permission for us to serve them there.
So it's a natural setting.
A natural environment would be any place a typically developing child would spend their time.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So it could be, we have seen children in libraries if the home wasn't the best place to see them and parents wanted to go to the library because that would be a natural place. We've seen kids in parks because that would be a natural place for children to be served also.
Oh, okay. That's a good example. Thank you for to clarify that.
Yeah.
Now, what about the clients that are older that are in the daycare programs, like the one that is over at Parkwood Shopping Center on Hammer Lane? That's United Cerebral Palsy, isn't it?
That's an adult program.
Right.
That's an adult day program. Yes, once people turn 19, they are eligible to go to an adult program if they so choose. And that's one of United Cerebral Palsy's adult programs.
And
Hammer Lane.
Is that a program that you supervise, or
no? Because those
deal
are
with the
adults.
younger
I'm
children?
with the little ones.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, what about the high school age children?
Once children turn 3,
put a dye into you and make sure that your kidney was working right and things like that. So a lot of procedure had changed. Now a lot of parents let their children that have been in an intoxicated negative environment. You know what I mean? So it's like, do you positively reinforce parents that child, the baby or whatever, they can handle it? You know, not I cannot do it. I can't do it. It's still depressing. But yet they're the baby that God had given them an opportunity that you could do it. You get the precious life.
We try to give them ways to do it, so they have. It gives them a little bit of hope to know, oh, I can do that, or oh, yes, I can do that. So that it's to help the parents, because it's a depressing thing. I don't know if it's depressing, but it's not what you were expecting. You were expecting to get this baby, and this is the path we were going to go, and you have this baby, and it's different. You know, I don't know if you've heard that story about, you know, you thought you were going on vacation and you were going to go to Paris and you end up in Spain. It's not what you were expecting. It's a different route, but it's still a baby, and it still needs your love and attention. And sometimes it's difficult because whatever the condition going on is, the child could be unhappy, they could be crying a lot, and that is hard for parents to see.
Definitely.
And it's not obviously not a personal thing because the baby's doing it, but how do you support the parents? Like, they still need this, they need to do this might help make them more comfortable. So there's just a lot of things that go on.
So another one, you gave them the resource and the outlet to help, like you said, you work with birth to 3-year-old where they cannot communicate themselves, and they're focusing on crying. So if whether they're cold or they're hungry or they're like want a mom milk or want attention, to be hugged, to be nurtured, do you give that input on that?
How to read their signs?
How to read the sign, that's what I'm trying to say.
That is part of, yes, that's part of what we do. Some kids who like they're older and you were expecting some words, our speech therapists and our teachers give lots of hints about, hold it up by your face so they'll look at you, they'll watch your mouth, they'll learn how to say those things. Hesitate, give them 2 choices. Do you want an apple or a banana? And that way it just kind of stimulates some of the child to do some of the talking themselves. Right,
that's good. That's a good way of giving the parent the resources of giving like mom, like the mom, dad, father, or like do you also develop through sign language as well to do it with hand gesture, or do you use verbal mostly?
It depends on what's going on with the child. They do teach children sign, and they emphasize that just because we're doing sign language doesn't mean your child won't talk.
Exactly.
It gives them a way to communicate until they learn the words.
Okay.
There's still some people who say, I don't want to do sign language because I want them to talk. But usually what they found out through the research is you use sign, and that just you use sign and the words, and that facilitates the language.
Like for me, for me, signing and talking, I do a lot of speech therapy. I mean, tremendous. That was all the way from elementary school to all the way to high school. I do a lot of speech, and then from birth to 21, I have been in the hospital so many times. So it's definitely it gave me an idea that parents focus on speech. It's not. Sign language either help both ways. You know what I mean?
Right. My personal point of view is communication.
Yes.
Let's communicate, however, because that's going to help behavior. That's just going to help attitude. It's going to help self-confidence. If I can communicate to you my needs, I don't have to get upset. I don't have to throw things. I don't have to shut down and just not do it. So to me, a lot of kids' behavior is communication.
Exactly.
And what we want to do is give them probably a more appropriate way to say, I don't want that. Instead of throwing it at me, it could be stop, it could be, just to give them another way to communicate that.
Well, my nephew that I was talking about, my great nephew who's so severely disabled, he'll never learn to talk. I don't believe he ever will. And like I said, he is deaf. His eyes do not focus very well, and he can't stand or walk. He crawls on the floor. He can now.
And to
pull
me, that's a
himself
plus.
up.
He can crawl.
Yes,
To me, that's a
and
plus.
ever since he has been born, he would hit his head on the ground, and on the carpet or on the floor or wherever, and he would scream. And I think his mother had a helmet for him for a while.
Right.
But I and the rest of the family here in Stockton, we don't know what kind of training that child's getting in his town, because he lives in a different town with his mother, and he comes to stay with his father and stay with us, my family, sometimes for a week or more. And he sometimes now he can sit up, and someone has to feed him baby food, but most of the time he's drinking a formula out of a bottle, and he's still in diapers. He'll never be able to take care of himself. But what I have, you're talking about communication, ever since he was very little, and he loves to be held, and I would put his hand on my chest and I would sing to him, and he would be so calm. And I learned this, that the vibration, they
right.
feel the vibration. And that was a wonderful, wonderful way of communicating with him. But there's no way to really communicate with him because of the fact he can't hear. And the only thing you can do is, like when he gets into cupboards and different things, you have to take him away. And go like this. That's the only thing we do.
But if you do that and he knows you don't want him to do that, that is communication.
That is, right.
And I think sometimes it's learning to read their signs.
Right.
Because all children are different. Some who are more severely involved and can't communicate. But, you know, if you can read their signs, figure out their signs, figure out some things that are calming. From a sensory basis, deep pressure touch frequently is calming. That's what that Spio compression garment does. That's what weighted things do, is gives that deep pressure touch. And sometimes children who are banging their head are looking for a deep pressure touch. They like the feel of that bang.
Yes. I think
and
that's
so it's,
very
you know,
true.
well, how can we provide it throughout the day so he doesn't necessarily feel he has to do that?
Yeah, I remember a couple of times, a lot of children, especially at the program, they like to swing back and forth.
Some will like
to
swing
swaying back and forth, you know, like
movement,
like hitting their head in the back of the cushion.
And some like to bang on it because they like the feel of it.
It's kind of like a thrill for them to feel that, like, oh, it
feels good.
Like, you know, like kind of rocking and stuff like that. But for them, banging on the cushion, they like it.
Well, when I do sensory talks, I think of you know those big time wrestlers. They're throwing each other down on that mat. They're slamming down. They like the same feeling. They just found an acceptable way to get it.
Right.
Race car drivers, jet pilots, they like speed. They were probably little kids who are running all the time, all over the place.
Right.
But they found an acceptable way to do what they need.
Right.
So I when I look at the little children, it's just like, okay, how can we get them to do what they need to do and find an acceptable way to get that?
Well, my nephew, I can't pick him up anymore. He's too heavy. And he has, it's a strange thing, he has no form to his arms or his legs. No
muscle tone is,
But he is so strong. And to try to lift him, it's like trying to lift dead weight.
That's probably because there isn't muscle tone and it is more like dead weight.
But when I do get him into my lap and in a rocking chair, I put a cover on him because he's always just in maybe a t-shirt and diaper, that's all. And I put a blanket on him and I rock him and I talk to him and I put his hand on my chest. And he lays there so calm. Sometimes he'll lay there for over a half hour.
You're giving him, in my technical terms, you're giving him a lot of sensory feedback, which is good. He likes, it sounds like. Yeah.
But the thing that I've been when asking about working with the families, one of the things that I have seen with this child, and my niece has a child that is autistic. Mm-hmm. And he's getting very, very big. He's going to be a big young man, and he's 14 years old. He doesn't really speak. But what has been missing within my family is somebody coming and training and teaching our family how to deal with these two children that have these life challenges.
And that's the benefit of Early Start, is that Birth to 3 program, is there is work with parents. In our area, there's also Family Resource Network, which is the family component of special ed. And it's made up all families who have children within special ed, and they're a big support in this area. And everybody in California, there is a, it's not always called, in some places it's called Family Resource Centers, I believe. But in Stockton, the Family Resource and Referral Center is a child care agency. So here it's called Family Resource Network. But that's, they have a lot of trainings. They have they call it SIB shops. And I'm not going to do them adequacy. If you guys are listening, sorry. But it's for the siblings of children. They have a mother's retreat. They do trainings on different topics. They train like how to do your IEP. You know, little tidbits to what you would want to look for, what you'd want to ask. So to me, that's a big support. That's a parent-to-parent support group.
Oh, that's excellent.
And in Stockton, it's just wonderful. They have a toy lending library. They have a lot of resources on different disabilities. They have a music class for the little ones once or twice a month.
You got music class? And, oh, that's good. Do they, what they...
For the Birth to 3.
Okay, the Birth to 3, are there sensory nerve that can hear the music, or do you feel having close to the vibration?
You know, I haven't been, but it's run by a music therapist, and they do different songs and to get the kids involved in music.
Okay.
Do the children are they able to like bang on drums or piano?
I haven't been. I'm not sure,
know.
but they do.
Yeah.
When I do therapy, I have a little drum I use.
Oh, good.
Oh, wonderful! Tell us a little bit about how you do your therapy. Give an example of maybe a client
of occupational therapy.
Yeah, what the disability may be, and how you give that child
every child is different,
right.
So it just varies. As occupational therapists, we do a lot with feeding, trying to get children to eat who won't eat. Another therapist I've worked with, one little boy who would, if he stuck his tongue out of his mouth, he would gag and might throw up. To now he's taking spoonfuls of food, which is really exciting to us.
Oh, yeah.
Very exciting. We have the sensory clinic where we have a lot of swings. It's really like a playground. We have all different kinds of swings. We have a trampoline, big cushions in there. So the kids, everything they do, they'll get a lot of movement and a lot of deep pressure touch. And those help the kids who are, the ones you would say are all over the place. Sometimes we call crashers and burners because they love to run and crash and just slide into things. But we try to give them intensely what they're seeking so they don't have to keep doing those things and they can seek.
So in other words, you put them in a safe environment where they don't get hurt, and then you put them in like a little, what do you call it, nerve soft wall so they could run into the wall or run into the floor.
We have cushions that they have to crawl across because it makes their body work harder. Right. And they can jump and fall on them and crash on them, yes.
Yeah. So they put them in a situation where your body, they know what the sensory, what it's faint, when they fall, they know that if the brain, you're teaching the brain, it's soft, it's going to be too hard, it's going to be...
Well, it's almost
like a learning, you're teaching...
internal learning, yes.
Yes, right. Internal learning for a child to go into what's going to happen if he run into a brick block or something, or jump and he fall, and he knows the sensory is going to go...
But we don't have to get hurt.
No, I'm not getting hurt. I'm talking about hurt. I'm talking about knowing that your body is different.
It's a higher intensity of giving them what they need, so hopefully they get enough and they come back. I think of this as the optimal level of performance.
Okay.
And they're functioning up here too high. Okay. And we want to give them so much that they come down and rest in that optimal level.
Like a resting heart rate, okay.
Yeah, it's like a heart rate. Think of it that way. It's like, okay, because you want to be here in your optimal level. And if you're too high or too low, you're not going to do your best.
Okay. So how do you have a machine that diagnose that? The brainwave?
No, it's more, can they sit and eat dinner? You know, instead of getting up every 2 seconds.
Okay.
Can they sit and complete an activity? Will they stop and listen to what your parents telling them to do? That's sort of how we measure it. It's that, or other kids are very upset all the time because they're just not comfortable within their body. And then our goal is can they be calmer for more, for longer periods of time? Can their tantrums last 10 minutes instead of 45 minutes? Sometimes those are our goals.
Now,
and that's just OT.
The clients that you have, the children that you have, can you identify by name what type of a disability
all sorts. We have with cerebral palsy, we have Down syndrome, we have undiagnosed ones, prematurity because they're at high risk. Tracy, if you're listening, I'm sorry, we have one like C1T something that's very, very rare. Children with autism, children with different syndromes, Cornelia de Lange, I cannot think of them right now. Anything, any type of developmental disability, we've probably seen them.
What about with physical disabilities?
Well, when we say developmental disability, that could be a physical problem, that could be a cognitive problem, that could be anything that's keeping them from functioning where they should be at that age. That's we can count. Yeah.
Now, what would be some signs for, say, a parent with a brand new baby? Because you're working with children from birth to 3 specifically. What would there be some signs that perhaps the child has
a problem?
Newborns
referrals are usually because they were born prematurely or they had some type of birth difficulty, whether you get APGAR scores. I don't know if you've heard of the APGAR scores.
No,
when a child's born, the doctors rate them based on color, breathing, a whole bunch of things. And the highest is 10, which people don't usually get 10, but usually they're at 8 or 9. So if their APGAR scores is like 1 at 1 minute, 2 at 5 minutes, 3 at 10 minutes, that's serious. That means something was going on. They weren't getting oxygen, their brain wasn't doing something. So they would be at a high risk. So they would be referred because of that. If the child did perfectly fine in the hospital, was released within 2 days, sometimes if they're extremely irritable all day and all night, that would be a sign something's wrong. But they'd look medically first. Usually your voluntary movement comes in about 4 months. Before that, it's a lot of reflexes. So at 4 months, if they're not starting to, if they won't play on their stomach and look up, if they're not rolling over, if they're not looking at you, making eye contact and starting to smile and laugh, then those would be things to look at. And then just as they get older, if they're not doing some of the milestones. We have a lot of referrals for speech. Because the children aren't meeting some of those language milestones. They're not starting to say them.
So at the beginning, okay, and say that the parent was seeing some things that they just didn't feel comfortable, and they go to their pediatrician.
They can go to their pediatrician is always good. Usually getting a referral to Valley Mountain Regional Center is what you want to do. Sometimes
and they would have to come through the primary physician?
The parents can call it in, the physician can call it in, so it can be either. The parents have to always know about it. I would say daycare providers can call it in. So anybody could really call it into Valley Mountain Regional Center. It doesn't have to have a physician's authorization. What they do is when they get a referral for a little one, they send out an intake team to do assessments and to see whether there is a problem. We look to see where the child's development is in 5 different developmental areas. And if they're scoring within 33% of their age, they're probably fine. They'll catch up. If it's below that, then they'll qualify for services. And Valley Mountain will provide services that will help meet the needs. They look at what's available, what might best help this child, and then they coordinate those services.
Well,
Okay,
my-
we got we're about
You're cutting
out
me
of
off.
time.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but we're out of time right now. Sorry about that.
we could ask you 1,000 questions.
Yeah,
Debbie.
we're going to more questions. My hand is kind of a little clammy right now, so I can't do it. But
We're gonna have her come back.
yeah, you
'Cause
definitely.
this
It's
is,
a good. I think it's a
Yeah,
good
this
resource.
is very important.
It's very important, and at the moment, I think Joey left. So let's see.
Joey
who's
is our
coming back.
technician here.
Joey's
Okay.
back.
So I'm gonna cut it off right now. Thank you, Debbie.
Yes.
Link, right?
Right.
Thanks for coming to the show. I learned a lot. It's kind of it's very something for someone you need to know out there.
Formative.
Going
It's
through the
helpful.
process and really get a good resource. You know, even though it's a talk show, we also, I provide the deaf community at like a inclusive to get the more resources, because sometimes a talk show kind of get boring sometimes. So you just to talk and get listen to resources. But as we going through our year of getting family involved and teacher and organization for the community to get resources. So far, I think this is what you're doing is amazing. For children from birth to 3, and giving what do you call it, an opportunity to have like intervention. Hopefully, they will find something and work with that progress. So I thank you so much for your help and your dedication with CUP, Debbie, and I thank Connie for helping me, asking a lot of questions at her, which is a good thing.
No, I'm your other arm.
So thank you
He's
everyone
got
for watching.
3 arms.
Here
Thank
signing
you.
He has
for
3
him.
arms.
Thank you so much for everyone watching. Have a great Sunday afternoon. Goodbye.
Yes,
Bye.
thank you. Thank you, Debbie. Bye.